I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Rezero, Season 2, Episode 13. I don't think this episode exists. It's hard for me to believe an episode exists where I get to see or hear anything from Satella.
Yeah, no, this is actually, we're just going to skip over that completely. This episode is just going to start in a totally different place. Because it never could have existed,
Never.
Actually.
It
was just a tease.
I'm a bit excited, to say the least. I have been loving...
If it's real.
If it's real.
I'm a bit excited, too.
Every episode is just like... It's getting better and better. I'm really enjoying Season 2 of ReZero.
It's been things that we could have not even imagined we were actually going to get.
I love just, like, the microscope on witches in general. It's amazing.
I love all of them.
All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Oh my god. All those barriers. Ah! It's happening! For you to love her.
And making everyone cry. You're the one suffering, that you can make that excuse.
What? Ungrateful to her. Love yourself more.
Those were her eyes. Totally. As long as everyone else makes it to the future. The music is so creepy. Again, so much reiteration that he's trying to handle it all on his own. Dangerous to have her touch you.
You gave me everything.
Did he bite his own tongue?
He killed himself?
Breath. That you should be included among the ones you wish to save. Those trials were supposed to show him a time. He didn't love himself before he came here either. He wasn't supposed to see how much they suffered. He was supposed to see how much he means to this world. How much they love him, and he should love himself. That's what he was supposed to see. One who saved me. She's crying. Look at that, you can see through. He did. Mm-hmm. Taken and not returned.
Wow.
Interest? That's crazy. It's a great question. Back to the contract. Assure that you arrive at the future of saving who you want to save. I'm going to look for it, the value.
Oh my god. What a line.
Some information. Meddling loser. Only Echidna was evil to the very end.
Amazing. It's that little touch.
Mm-hmm.
That's a line.
I still feel I'm so...
Me either.
One of the options.
Wow.
He didn't take Echidna's hand, but he reached his hand out to sit. Who grieve when you die.
You must come to kill me.
Oh, it's not over? I thought it was over.
Auto!
Best friend! Oh, I got emotional there at the end.
パトラッシュちゃんですよ。厩舎で暴れ出して縄をほどいた瞬間に資格のない奴が墓所に入ると拒絶されるって。どうしてこんなバカな真似。目が覚めれば普通に外に。どうして助けた。
Love.
どうしてってわからないんです。
And you're in front of your best friend. Come on. Carmilla was literally showing you the truth.
Otto's
そうですよね。パトラッシュはなんて言って。そんなこと言わせないでよ。本当にわからないんですか。
Silly. You know why.
ですね。
It's just hard to believe for him.
気づくや否や飛び出してのも構わず助け出して目覚めて笑いかけるの気持ちなんて人でも地流でも同じだと僕は思いますけど、鈍感通り越して
Beyond
幸
dense.
せもんですね。
Oh, he's crying.
タイミングが
The timing's perfect. It's ideal. It's exactly what it needed to be.
俺のこと一緒に教えてくれるとはな。パトラッシュ。大丈夫ですか。
Give him a hug.
何があったんですか。心配か。俺のこと好きなのか。気持ち悪いこと言わないでくれませんかね。今後のためです。分かってる。松木さん。
He just said it.
俺はクリアし。ちょっと。今のは。
Did he lose the ability
Ability
to
to
do
take
it?
the trial?
されてる。
What?
資格がなくなったのか。
She touched him. You brought it up.
お前はパトラッシュ。交渉を無視して聖域を抜ける方法。随分突飛な発想だ。まるで初めてとは思えん。
What a great voice actor.
このやりとりは初めてだ。腹の探り合いはもうバカらしいけどな。私といろいろあったよ。
I love that expression from Roswell.
他にももろもろ回収済みだよ。あの施設のことも。ガーフィールが強欲の頂上だね。だが墓所を無視するなんていや決着を急ぐ理由でもそんなもんねえよ。けど挑んで傷つくエミリアを。だからこその君だ。代わりに試練を受けるのが辛いと。
He can't anymore.
玉を真に愛していればできて当然のことだ。玉のためならば自分の心など。
No, himself first.
そうだろう。
God, it's exactly what Amelia would want him to think too.
どうやらこの研ぎ方が足りてないらしいね。少しだけ期待してしまったよ。私の望んだ先を見られるかもしれないと。覚悟のスタートラインにも立てていない。覚悟のスタートライン。お前はどこまで俺に。私は君に踏みにじってでも目的を遂行する意志を。エミリア様のためだと思う名の考えなど無視すべきだ。幼稚な楽園を夢見る子供にな地獄を歩む覚悟など持てない。
Oh my god.
本末転倒だろ。ためなのに。命がある。未来があれば希望がある。があれば可能性がある。可能性がある。
Oh my god.
人は救われる。言い返すこともできずか。あと何度落胆させられるんだろうね。足りない覚悟を研ぐついでだ。一つ追い詰めよう。この聖域で起こる多くの問題に直面したはずだ。だが問題はこの聖域だけに限らない。昨日ことか。お前もそれ知って。無論だよ。屋敷を死角に襲わせる依頼は。
What's his doing?
私が出したものなんだから。
What the fuck?
待ってくれ。お前か。
I did not want to believe that that was a thing.
To help sharpen your resolve.
Making him pick one? And can never go back from it. It's like
You'll be
giving him
perfected.
an impossible situation. He has to pick one.
Oh my god. Enchanted by those eyes 400 years ago.
なぜ君はまだどうかしていない。だから私が君に。それは何のつもりだい。お願いします。許してください。俺が悪かったんです。だから顔を上げてくれた。君は何一つ悪くないんだ。違うんだ。試練に挑む資格がなくなったんだ。何。屋敷を襲わせても無駄なんだ。誰も死んでもどうか。いやダメだ。 より必要性を強めたよ。駅ドナは資格でも何でも再発行する。
We're gonna force him to make a contract with her?
I'm gonna try, but hopefully not.
That's what he's doing, is cornering him. You are perfected, like shaping him.
君が憎いなんてことはありえない。呼ぶべき感情を抱けるのは君とラムの二人しかいない。信じている。お前みたいにはならない。人間だ。
Love yourself.
どうすれば。
Don't share the burden. Tell someone.
どうしたらいいか教えてあげましょうか。おっと。どうもございます。そうです。僕ですよ。
お前どうしてここに。
それはひとまず折夏希さんですよ。何か死にそうな顔で上ごとをぶつ。
He's been wanting Subaru to open up this whole freaking time.
そうか。お前には妙なとこ見つかってばっかだな。
目端が効かないとやってられないですよ。
悪いが軽口に付き合ってる余裕はねえんだってことがあるから今は。
行き詰まったんでしょ。知りたいんですよね。任せてください。
セルって何よ。
いいですか。
That's what friends are fucking for.
準備。
はい。まずはゆっくり。
Oh my god, I love Otto so much.
ほら早く。友達の前でかっこつけるのなんかやめちまえよ。夏木すばる。
Okay, that was Rezero, Season 2, Episode 13. I feel like I've just been taken on an emotional, sadistic roller coaster. A lot obviously happened in the content of that episode,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I think that it affected me, and on a more personal note, in terms of where we've come from episode 1 of season 1 to halfway through season 1 to what we believed we should be doing, and now what we were told to be doing this episode. I feel like I'm learning shit.
This whole episode, I feel like were just gears were turning and spinning in my head the entire time, especially like still in like the witches' tea party area. While we were there, I feel like every new thing that was said was just added to the stockpile inside my head that was trying to be processed.
Yeah.
So I feel like I probably was like this like washed face of just like, you know, the gears were spinning in there, but nothing was, you know, coming out. It probably looked like broken, but so much was being said that was like, I was finally getting things, but also getting more a little bit confused of what Subaru is supposed to be doing. And obviously that's like the main question that's asked at the end of the episode. Like, what should he be doing here? What should he be doing? I'm trying to understand these super cool, complex witch characters that are both like, I could never understand you, but then like you can kind of understand them, but not on a human level.
Mm-hmm.
And Roswell, you know, and understanding him, and almost like he's a similar party to the witches, I would say, in terms of like discarding the human heart, if you will, and or never ever having one with the witches. But like also trying to understand Satella. And I'm still really trying to understand that situation. Her parting words to him, too. So my mind is just... It almost feels like my body and my mind feel the way that it feels when I watch an episode or a movie here in this room that is very heavy emotionally, that had just some giant, very impactful emotional scenes. that leave me kind of feeling like my brain is a little bit like trying to play catch up, a little bit broken even, just numb feeling. And I feel similar to that because I'm trying so hard to put pieces together. I'm trying so hard to come up with an understanding of certain characters, their motives and their reasons and their how things have come to be, but also what is Subaru supposed to do here? I mean, there's two halves of this episode that I'm trying really hard to process. What is Subaru supposed to be doing going forward, Ben? With like what Roswaal has put in front of him as obstacles of things, him having to pick one, and how it's like he's tunnel vision. He's putting him in this funnel where he has to get to a point where he's the same as Roswaal because of the obstacles Roswaal has put there. But we want Subaru to be able to like somehow dodge that and find his own path.
Yeah. It's interesting. I am in a completely different space of like how I was processing this episode and how I'm like thinking right now. And it's probably just to do with my own curiosity and then like what I see in Subaru as a character and very far reach. It's hard. Maybe this is just inherently like an issue with me, but whenever I consume media, I do my best to like to want to watch it as it's intended, but also not ignore in like what I try to relate to each character in universe, so I can try to better understand them. And in doing so, like sometimes you see like on like similarities within yourself to certain characters, which makes you wonder like narratively what's the lesson to be learned here.
Yeah, like it, I feel like that's maybe a similar conversation of, at least for me, characters who have ended up being comfort characters for me or to me were characters that I saw glimpses of myself in and then ended up learning lessons through them. Like one of my biggest comfort characters is Toru in Fruits Basket, which you have never seen, so you do not understand why I feel that way about that character. And I'll be very excited for you to meet that character.
Yeah. I think I am honestly fascinated and really appreciate this series for a lot of reasons, but take all of the magic out of it, take all of the ability out of it, take all of the echidna out of it, which is hard for me to say. I still, god damn, I love this series. I think that what they've done with Subaru is really interesting. So, chronologically, right?
In terms of the episode?
No, in terms of Subaru and his life. You're at a point of anxiety, depression, you know, you don't want to go to school. You are wanting from your parents, you want them to make you give up by what they're saying based off of your own self-destructive nature and because of how far into rock bottom or how down in that hole you've become.
And that you can't fathom or you can't fathom a deservingness of their continuous support and actual love of you with this. How are you not mad at me? How are you not disappointed? How are you not telling me to give up? Or how are you not, you know, kicking me out, disowning
me? The more so like the focused on like you have a vision of yourself and an ideal of yourself, and every day you grow smaller and smaller into that, to a place that it's not even just about, like, I think upon watching the end of episode 4 of this season, like, I was left with questions of, like, you're being reaffirmed through this trial by your parents and your own self. You're being given strength to go forward, but it's not that easy, right? If you're given strength to propel yourself forward, that doesn't mean that just an attitude change is going to fix everything. Subaru said...
Great thing to say.
Subaru said that he loved escaping into a new world. And upon being given that fresh start, if you go into a fresh world already hurt and broken, that doesn't mean a broken version of you will find solace and make the best of a new world. And in watching season 1 of Subaru and seeing his faults and the things that he's doing wrong and could be doing better, whether it's with Amelia or whether trying to save everybody, you can try to see an attempt of Subaru trying to just be better, be different. Okay, this is what I have to do differently. And I think that you're inherently, what I'm receiving from this episode in the series at the moment is that if you're trying to build positivity and the correct way of thinking and your correct actions upon a faulty base or a injured base, then it's only a matter of time before you're going to reach a height that you realize you can't build anymore, and you're just going to start crumbling every second. And to have growth and moving forward, you need to be able to deconstruct everything before you can reconstruct it properly. Just one thing, like the trying to understand Subaru's character really started for me, and the idea of this is more of a question, is what Subaru is doing of using return by death again and again in order to save everybody, I think is very easy to it's very easy for me to look at that as the ultimate form of like a sacrifice and putting everybody else before you, right? Of almost the ultimate form of selflessness. And what my question is that do you only get to the ultimate form of selflessness by being insecure and hating yourself to that degree that makes you put everybody else first, you know?
I think I would, so there's like a few examples I can think of for this conversation. One of them is like if you're on an airplane. They always say if you're a mom with a child in an airplane, you put your oxygen mask on first before you put your child's, or help them put their oxygen mask on. And there's also like I used to watch RuPaul's Drag Race. And there's a phrase that they always say, like, you can't, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love someone else, kind of thing. And both of those ideas, I think, are talking about the same thing, is that you can't truly recognize the beauty in others and what they bring to the world and bring to you, and understand them and give them all that they deserve in terms
the credit that they deserve.
The acknowledgement that they deserve as people, if you are not acknowledging how they feel about you and who you are to them. That especially if it's someone close to you, like their love for you is, if you love them, that's important to you. That's important to your character. That's integral to your heart and your soul. Are you denying them that part of them that loves you? Yes. And so like you have to recognize in yourself, even though it's hard, and for a lot of people they struggle with it, the beauty that's in you. Because if you don't, then what do you think about the people that love you? Like that's so cruel to them and mean to them and rude to them to not love something that they love, to not see the beauty in something that is so important to the people that love you. Like it's such a slap in the face to them. It's cruel to them.
While you would be isolating yourself and with the intention of benefiting everybody else, that's only through your perspective and through the world around you that's still alive and living and has its own feelings and thoughts. What you're doing to them is a form of disrespect and a form of, in a weird fucking way, putting I was gonna say putting them beneath you, but it's more so just it's like not treating them as like a peer, I guess. Like I think that there's
your victimizing of yourself, your hatred of yourself, therefore becomes the priority emotion almost. The attacking yourself, self-deprecating, self-sabotaging is almost the priority, because you get into this warped tunnel of thinking that you are deserving of this self-battery.
Yeah. It's not even deserving. Like, so that's where I want to make the distinction that is like, I really appreciate the series. I think that within every episode, especially when they focus on introspective natures, it like really speaks to me, and I can find a lot in Subaru compared to my own life. And I think that through Subaru's mindset, it's like you're doing this for other people. That's the fact. Like, that's the fact of the way that you're thinking at the moment. But through that, there are repercussions and real feelings that are being ignored and and are being overshadowed and are distorting reality.
Like, you have to fill your cup too. I say this to you sometimes, that if I wanted something from someone, like if I really need something from them, if I need something that might be putting them out, I will directly ask for it.
Yeah.
I never want someone to do something that is putting themselves out or taking away from themselves if it is not something that I explicitly like am really asking for help with, because I don't want someone to just do that for me all the time, because what happens there is you get into this unfortunate situation where if someone is constantly doing something like that for you, it might go unnoticed because it's just constantly happening.
Yeah.
And therefore, then as soon as that person, the person that's putting themselves out so much for others, starts to care about themselves, tries to, it ends up having a negative repercussion on the people in their lives that love them, because they're used to a certain behavior and they don't realize that it's been hurting this person all along to be having that certain behavior. And they are like, but why were you hurting yourself like that much?
Yeah.
I never asked for that. And it just creates this really unfortunate, icky situation.
But there's something like that that's being taught upon that, I feel. Like what kind of fucking amazing ass individual Otto is. Like, he's so aware that he could see the hurt. He acknowledged it, followed up on it, and is then taking a step forward into that person's life and confidence to help make that change. Realization.
We've been seeing this with Otto. We keep seeing him like attempting to bridge that gap and to reach his hand out and to be like, dude, you can tell me things. We've seen him try in a plethora of methods. We've seen him come right out and be like, dude, this is how I feel about you.
Yeah.
We've had him come up to Subaru and be like, hey, are you sure about this? Do you want to talk about anything? Is anything going on? We've seen him attempt a plethora of methods that fit his character in order to try to show Subaru both directly and indirectly in his attempts, like, hey, you're not alone. Please don't act like you are, because like I want you to notice I'm here.
Yeah.
I want you to notice that I care about you. But I also don't want you to feel alone because I care about you. So it's like it's both like in a selfish way hurtful, but also in a selfless way hurtful, because it's like I don't want you to be hurt, but it's also kind of like, how do you not notice that I care about you?
It's like you're being dumb, you're being dense, you're being oblivious. Like you're in your way of only thinking about everybody else, you're only thinking about yourself. Yeah, exactly. And it's like what Otto has to do here, like and to break what that down means is something that's really important to me and interesting, because it's like it's what does it do other than blows away the dust and it's like, okay, well, this is a situation we're at. Let's go forward. Because like it's like all that deconstruction of who you are and how you're going to live your life going forward is something that like it's present.
Yeah, I love thank you for saying that again, because it was something we were talking about. You were specifically talking about previously in the discussion, and it's something I wrote down something about to attach to that, but then we kind of went in a different direction. So you were talking about kind of Subaru has been learning things and building these blocks, but the foundation was already a foundation of how he felt about himself before he entered this world, and that Subaru existed for years and was it was a pretty unhealthy, strong foundation
Yeah.
that had been built. Strong in terms of like he'd been living it for a long time in this almost isolated chamber.
That has to be acknowledged, and it wasn't.
And while I wanted to talk about on that is, I was thinking of Django as you were talking about it, because I was thinking like he's learned so many really good things, like really real things, about himself and about new ways to attempt this, new ways to feel about himself, and he's adding these blocks, but then each time it fails, it's like he's seeing another flaw that he didn't notice before, or a crack in that belief. Like, yes, that belief was headed in the right direction, but it was a little bit too empty. Like there needed to be more there, more layers there. So like a block's ripped out. And it's just like everything's kind of like shaky, and blocks are getting put on, but other blocks are being taken out at the same time. It's like, that's how it feels. It's like a Jenga tower. Like he's kind of like, when is this gonna topple over? Because the foundation is not gonna last forever. And it also made me think about, as a viewer, how I've been viewing specifically the last couple episodes. I keep feeling like, oh, what he just learned there, this is the time we're gonna beat this like arc.
Yeah.
This is the time that we're going to get through this with Amelia, the sanctuary, the trials. I kept feeling like, oh, he's learned what he needed to. He has all, but what I was focused on was the secrets.
Yeah.
The things about Garf, the things about Roswell, all the players involved, Ryuzu. I was more focused on him learning all the information in going forward with strategy. Like, oh, what time does Elsa show up? Where's Betty gonna be? How does Betty feel? Like he was learning. I was focused on the information, the things that we could build for strategy.
You were focusing on what Subaru was.
I was focusing on what Subaru was focusing on, not himself as a piece of this puzzle. Yeah. But when you think about an artist or someone making something, you cannot avoid putting yourself into it. You cannot avoid who you are affecting what you put out in the world. Whether that's how you love someone, whether that's the art you create, whether that's the plans that Subaru concocts, the strategies that he comes up with in order to get the right future. He cannot, it's inherently going to involve his beliefs, his biases, his feelings, because they're all his ideas that it's informed by him. It's his heart involved in this.
Yeah.
And if that heart and the parts that are so biased, so part of him, are going to continue to be as unloving to himself as they are, and actually unhealthy, then what he puts out in the world is not going to enact the result that he desires.
Yeah. I think episode 4 of this season might be one of the best episodes, or like best examples of writing and character writing that I've seen in a while. Like in retrospect, like what you do in a long running format of fiction or television, or however character growth, you end up getting to a point that a character reaches the end of their arc and they're at a place that you're happy with. But if what's demanded of you is to further that character, what often comes at a cost is having to deconstruct that character after they've gotten to the arc that they're supposed to be at. But that's the complete opposite of in Rezero. It's like they knew that before they started writing, and they were like, I know that might be an issue later on. So I'm going to solve it before it ever happens. I'm going to put my character into another world and not touch upon the ideas of what they were like
and not even bring up their family until now. It's like,
it's amazing.
And keep us in a place where we didn't even think, like, the viewer is so incredibly looking through the eyes of Subaru as they're watching this, that we went, at least as a viewer in my experience, went through season 1 not even questioning who Subaru was before now, who his family was, how did he feel then, how does he have any like missing of his past, any friends, any family. I was completely ignoring those ideas and that backstory because Subaru wasn't thinking about them, and he had a lot he was thinking about, and a lot of strong feelings that were taking precedent and were so tunnel vision priority, like meeting Amelia and becoming her knight and wanting to save her, that as a viewer I'm just following through his eyes and his priorities. And in the same way in this season, I have been like, oh yeah, this is the time he's gonna do it, because he's been learning things and getting more confident and learning more about how he should be looking at things and how he should be solving things, and he's getting all this information that is gonna be super useful to him fixing things and getting out of the sanctuary. And I'm just like, and then I get, every time I'm just ripped out of it, and I'm like, oh shoot, I got onto the tunnel again.
Mm-hmm.
Like the show like brings you out of it as a viewer, being like, oh, just so you know, that's what you were doing while you were watching it, is that you started to insert yourself too much into like Subaru's mind, because he's your protagonist that you're following, and you weren't keeping yourself like out of it at a distance enough. But then I'm sucked back into it. And I forget again to keep myself above and away.
I like, with everything we watch, I want to make it clear that I don't like assume what I'm thinking or what I get from something's the intended purpose or the right thing, because 9 times out of 10 I'm wrong, you know. But I think that there is at least a little evidence I have that the idea of Subaru's character and what we're talking about here was the intention of the author. And the only piece of evidence I really have to go off of that is the entire deal with Echidna. Like, if you are going to get to the top of that tower and that's your goal, if your goal is to bake that cake, right? And there are 2 scenarios, and both of them, it leads to baking that cake. And one of them is easier to get to that finished cake, but you're excluding a lot of whether that's...
Maybe the love's not in the cake because you didn't take your time.
But you're going to get to that cake.
But you'll still make the cake. And then it'll probably still taste good.
In the much more difficult way of baking the cake, you might be working with people and you might fuck up more. You might have to restart the entire recipe more, but you're doing it with people. That by the end of the day, when that cake is being made, you're not only going to get the end result that you want, but you're going to be able to look back at how you got it, and the entire thing is going to be more fulfilling because of it.
You won't be high-fiving yourself, you'll be high-fiving the people around you.
Yeah, and I think that the idea of the whole rejection of the deal with Echidna was just that, was the idea of taking a pivot and not doing more of the same, and deciding that you're going to take steps that you need to in that individual moment to deconstruct yourself, to rebuild. And obviously what comes afterwards with Roswaal and then Otto at the end was like definitely honing in on it, specifically with Otto. But I think that it's just great.
In this episode,
apologies for not talking about the actual content of the episode either.
In this episode, Subaru decides whose hand he wants to take. He takes Satella's hand.
Yep.
And then verbally, he takes Otto's hand in this episode. He has decided who he cares about here.
Mm-hmm.
He cares about saving Satella, saving Amelia, and he cares about the people that he never realized how much they really cared about himself, because he was like, how could they?
Yep. One day you must come to kill me. You know, the idea of Satella's wild. We obviously have been like questioning like what Satella is, what the relation to Amelia is. Hell, the other day, you and I were in the car on a car ride, and we got into a discussion.
We're going over an overpass.
Yeah.
We're under an overpass.
80% you, 20% me, of the idea that Amelia potentially is a vessel for Satella, and because of what Satella did in this world and the hatred for Satella, the being of Amelia is destined to be hated, so it must take somebody out of that world to be able to get what Satella would always want, which is to be loved. and like the
We
idea
were
of
talking
that.
about how like Echidna wants to stay in this realm of being godly, of being above humans, because she wants all of this knowledge. She's greedy, but the difference between greedy and envy, wouldn't you eventually be envious of something that only humans can have and do that the witches don't seem to possess, which is like human feelings, human understanding, love, these things that would be very attractive to the idea of to someone who is so extremely envious, to want to feel those things, or at least want a version of themselves to feel these things and to be a part of this. Because if you're envious, and so much so that you eradicated all of the other witches, and you're infamous in this world for stealing things and taking away from others, that is the one thing. And that brings me to a line I really liked, which I'm hoping I wrote down. Love taken and not returned. So maybe Satella was constantly trying to take things, and now this is her chance of trying to return it.
Yeah.
In the way of wanting Subaru to love himself.
God.
I'm grateful for her. You're being ungrateful.
It's interesting because it's like, yeah, Roswaal enchanted by eyes 400 years ago, info about the makeup change, the info about Garf, all of these things are massive in of itself, but what I'm like left awestruck with is just the story of Subaru. What do you think the makeup coming off was? Like,
there's this character maybe that Roswaal has created for himself, and by removing the makeup, he's being a little bit more honest here with Subaru of his real intentions and who he really is. And unfortunately, he is much more personable with the makeup on.
Yeah.
When he removes it, where he looks more human, he's then in the way he's speaking entirely less in touch with humanity and in touch with his humanity, and much more insane.
Sometimes when we're watching shows, I can be so lucky to like not even want to guess and just like sit and watch what they're doing, like out of just like appreciation.
That's how I felt during this episode,
and that's how it feels going into next episode. To be honest, I think that it's kind of crazy. You brought it up, like getting almost like hypnotized into the way of thinking of Subaru and like missing what's in front of us.
This is the one. That's how I kept feeling. Like I was like running in a race and that we kept jumping the hurdles. And I kept being like, we're going to make
mine
that
was
one.
Different. Mine wasn't, this was the one. Mine, I think, was I was missing Otto. Like I was missing what was in front of me in terms of like what Otto was saying the whole time. Remember, I even like suspected him at a certain point, and the idea of him,
and you've hated yourself for that ever since.
And I don't know, I'm just, what a great season. So I'm really enjoying the season so far.
I agree. There's a couple quotes that I just want to say, just shout out to the quotes because I liked them, so I wrote them down. You should be included among the ones you wish to save.
Great quote.
Love that. What did you see in those trials?
Yeah.
Satella questioning Subaru, like, how is it the trials didn't show you what I'm hoping they showed you, what I want you to be seeing, believing, which we now know what it is by the end of it. And even Subaru knows what it is, the answer to that kind of question by the end. Until you are perfected.
Yeah.
The fact that he's being shaped by attempted to be shaped, that Roswaal sent the assassins. I think that it's Roswaal's an interesting character because it's like he's in this boat where character design, personality qualities, he's always been, and there's characters that exist in this space in so many different series that it's like, are you good? Are you not good? Are you good? Are you not good? And the viewer is constantly in this tug of war of being like, oh, you are good guy? Are you not good guy? Are you making me think you're not good guy, but you actually are good guy? And that's how I felt about Roswaal this whole time. Not that he's necessarily like a bad guy. He's very self-servicing.
Well, okay, the idea of, before Subaru even goes back into the Tea Party, when Roswell's dying in front of him and Subaru's reiterating that he doesn't want to be like Roswell. It's so interesting because it's like, even though you kind of are being that person, Roswell's somewhat a physical manifestation of what route Subaru was on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the idea of Roswell, granted not having returned by death, but talking as if, like, it doesn't matter if I'm the one who achieves that, as long as one will do. That's going in the complete direction that Subaru was before this episode, of, like, ignoring oneself and not wanting to be one of the people saved, you know?
But it could be the opposite of that, which is loving yourself and your goals so much that you're going to discard everyone else. And when he has that line of being like, the two people he cares about are Subaru and Ram.
Yeah.
And that, like, that when he says that, it's almost like he's surprised in himself that he even cares about them.
Yeah.
Because he's probably so used to caring about himself more.
But they were also beneficial to his reasoning,
also beneficial
which was cause of the love, you know?
Yeah, which caused the interest.
And it's so interesting that, like, even though that both could have been, like, achieved by very polar opposite means, you get to a very, like, a close place in proximity, you know? Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I think like, this episode really, like, took me for a ride, and I'm really happy about it.
A great place to end on is that season 1, Subaru kept being identified by other characters in dialogue that he was either prideful or slothful. In this episode, Echidna tells him that he's greedy.
God, I love her. How can you not?
It's such a good character.
Yeah.
When she does the smile and it's like, oh gosh.
So interesting. Mm-hmm. I was wrong. I do not like Satella more than Echidna.
I like that you could see Satella's eyes now. Now that we actually got to see beneath the veil a couple episodes ago, when Subaru's kind of enveloped in her, like, smoke.
Yeah.
And we actually see the face. Now when you see the veil, you can see the eyes through it, and I appreciated that.
I am so intrigued at where this journey ends for Subaru.
Where does this what is happening after this episode? If we didn't have that auto interaction, which the auto interaction happens during the outro, so like the ending credits is on the screen, what if the episode had ended after he closes the door on Roswell?
It wouldn't have felt right. I would have felt weird. I'm more like where is the end of Rezero? Like, where does the series end? Now knowing of Subaru's life before. Like, I'm so intrigued.
Honestly, the other question is, what is the future supposed to be? I don't know I don't know where you're supposed to have Amelia be. Like, what position is she supposed to be in? Her wishes. Are you supposed to ignore some of them? Are you supposed to... what she wants really supposed to be the ideal future? I don't know what the ideal future is.
Can a less dramatic interpretation of you should be included in the ones you save, could it be interpreted as you should be included in the ones you make happy? Mm-hmm. You think? Mm-hmm.
Imagine, okay, so this is something that's happened in another series that we've been watching recently, which is this idea that you're trying to make everyone else happy, and in that you are sacrificing something you love, and then you are suffering so much that the people you love that you protected are now feeling weird. Like, you're different now. I see that you're suffering. I see that you're sad. I can't help you. You know?
Yeah.
That idea.
God. So you're right. That's a good comparison too. Sometimes, whether it's a girl or a guy, all that it takes is a slap or a punch to reaffirm someone's resolve.
Yeah.
And keep them going.
Through line between those two series.
Right?
I like it. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. All right. You good? Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.